In the previous section, we installed the Zabbix software appliance, which gave us a working installation within minutes. Now that you know the URL of the appliance's web interface, let's take a brief tour. By default, the login credentials are admin with an uppercase A as the username, and the default password is Zabbix in lowercase letters. I click on Sign In, and I get to the dashboard. Almost the entire Zabbix system is configured through its web interface. There are just some more technical settings concerning the daemon processes which are configured in text files. They deal with the location of the configuration files, the database access credentials or timeouts, for example. Throughout the entire course, we will spend most of the time working in the web interface. Right after logging in, you're immediately taken to the dashboard. The dashboard consists of several widgets. They give you a very high-level view of the state of the Zabbix system itself, as well as the state of the computers you are monitoring. We will give the dashboard a more detailed look in the next section. At the top of the browser window, you can see two navigation bars. For each of the navigation items in the upper bar, you get a selection of further navigation items in the lower bar. You don't even have to click on any item, just hovering your mouse over it is sufficient. The most important navigation items are monitoring and configuration. Just a word of warning, Zabbix doesn't work well in multiple tabs in your browser, as it stores your current actions in a cookie, so if possible, just try to work in one browser tab. So what is the purpose of the different navigation menus? In the monitoring menu, you see different views like the dashboard, the overview, web, or latest data, which all deal with showing the data of the parameters that you monitor. For example, the overview is showing you the triggers of all the systems that you are monitoring. The more systems you have here, the more columns you see. Currently there's just the Zabbix server, and you can see one yellow box here, which shows that there is a problem with this trigger, the lack of free swap space on the Zabbix server itself. The web monitoring view is currently empty because no web monitoring is configured on the Zabbix appliance by default. A more interesting view is called Latest Data. Latest Data covers the recorded information for all the parameters. For example, if we expand this section of the Zabbix server, we see all information in regard of the CPU itself. For example, the processor load, a 1-minute average per core, is recorded here. The last value is 0.01, and we also see the change compared to the previous value. The triggers view will show you all the triggers that are currently active, so you can see that there is one trigger that has restored to the OK status, and another trigger, which is the lack of the free swap space that we covered earlier, which still has a problem. And there are also further views regarding events and graphs that you can customly configure, as well as screens and maps. We will deal with these views in a later section. The next menu item is called Inventory, which covers additional information for every host that you monitor. For example, you can enter the hardware serial number or the person to contact if there's a problem with the system. There is also a report section, which covers availability reports, the top 100 triggers, so you see what are the most firing triggers and what are the most common problems on your network, and you can also configure custom bar reports. The configuration menu is the main section where you set up the monitoring of your computers. For example, you set up the hosts here, the items which contain the parameters that you're monitoring, and what actions happen if there are problems with the servers. And last but not least, you have the administration menu, which covers different views and settings of the Zabbix server itself, as well as its appearance in the web interface. By the way, the line you see up here is called the breadcrumbs view, or the history. For each menu item that you choose, a new item is added to the breadcrumbs. So if you want to go back 1 or 2 steps where you've been before, just click on, for example, bar reports, and you can get back to the bar reports configuration, or the status of Zabbix, for example. So that concludes this section. You've learned that the Zabbix system is mainly configured through its web interface. You've also seen where to find the most important navigation items and what they mean. In the next section, we will take a more detailed look at the dashboard.